Once upon a time, in the majestic kingdom of Mele, all kinds of animals lived together in perfect harmony. Zebras, hippos, warthogs, giraffes, and more. One bright day, King Simba gathered everyone and, with a serious yet excited tone, announced, "The time has come to grow our family. Nala and I have made our dream come true. We're having a cub." He looked up at the sky and softly added, "Nala, my love, I'm on my way." Meanwhile, a tired Nala rested in her cozy spot and murmured, "Simba, I'll be right here waiting for you. Always." Not long after, Timon and Pumbaa came to see their good friend Simba, who asked them a special favor. "Please, don't scare little Kiara. I have to be with Nala for a while." Trusting his loyal friends, Simba left Kiara in their care. Once he was gone, Timon and Pumbaa set out to entertain young Kiara with one of their wild stories. They excitedly recounted how they had once bravely faced Scar, and even joked they'd eaten him. With the innocence only a child could have, Kiara replied, "Dad says he was the one who beat Scar," and soon laughter filled the air. Later on, the wise Rafiki paid a visit to Kiara. With pride mixed with a hint of worry, Kiara told him about how her parents trusted Timon and Pumbaa to look after her, while also confessing that she dreamed of becoming a brave lioness, even if she often felt small and fragile. Rafiki smiled and said that even Simba had been unsure when he was young. He recalled the time when her grandfather, Mufasa, took Simba to the top of Pride Rock and taught him how to roar under the starlit sky. Still, Kiara sighed. "I'll never be as brave as they are." Sensing her need for a little boost, Rafiki began another tale, one from long ago during a terrible drought, when the skies suddenly turned dark and fate took over. He told the story of a young Mufasa, long before he became the legend, when he and the future Scar were like brothers. In those days, Mufasa's parents led him through vast lands filled with elephants and hyenas, urging him to dream big as they showed him the wonder of their world. They even sang a heartfelt song celebrating life and promising to always stick together, even in hard times. But soon, a heavy downpour came, swelling the rivers into a fierce flood. Mufasa's parents did everything they could to keep him safe. From the edge of a cliff, his father urged him, "You have to leave now. There's still time." His mother, gentle yet firm, said, "Take one careful step at a time." Yet fear made Mufasa freeze in his tracks. In that fateful moment, the ground beneath an elephant shifted, and Mufasa was swept away by the raging waters. The flood carried the little lion far from everything he knew, until finally he was tossed onto a floating log in a distant corner of the kingdom. There, he met Taka, the curious and daring son of King Obasi. Taka asked, "What's your name?" And after a pause, young Mufasa answered. Intrigued, Taka admitted he had a secret. There was a crocodile closing in fast. With Mufasa unable to swim, the danger was real. Taka tried to help, but things quickly spun out of control. Just when hope seemed lost, Taka's mother, a brave lioness named Ae, appeared to confront the crocodile and save them both. Her face was a mix of anger and worry as she scolded, "I told you not to talk to strangers." Though she insisted they leave Mufasa behind, saying King Obasi would never accept an outsider, Taka couldn't bear to abandon the little cub. "I can't just leave him," he protested. "He's all alone and in trouble." After calming down, Mufasa explained how he had been caught in the flood and separated from his parents, and he quietly asked, "Do you know how I can get back home?" A gentle lioness replied, "Sometimes getting lost is just finding a new path. It might even become your home." With that, she took him to the Pride, where they met the imposing King Obasi. The king glared at Mufasa and declared, "We don't take in strays. In this Pride, blood is what matters." The name Mufasa seemed to anger him. "Mufasa," he repeated coldly, "that name means king, and I am the only king here. My son Taka will be my heir." A gleam of malice shone in his eyes as he challenged the little cub. Recalling that Mufasa had once been called the fastest cub by his mother, King Obasi proposed a race. "If you're as fast as you say, race my son Taka," he challenged, his tone heavy with disdain. The tension was thick, but before things could get out of hand, a sharp-witted lioness named Izzy stepped forward and calmly said, "If Mufasa wins, he stays with me." In that moment, the whole kingdom felt the stir of excitement, hope, and a little bit of mischief. Here, a stern voice declared that if Taka was ever meant to be king, he'd have to earn it right from the start. "A king must prove himself," she said, and with that, Obasi, gruff and full of pride, grudgingly agreed that a race would decide the cubs' fate. The young lions lined up, nerves and determination mingling in the air, and soon Mufasa and Taka were off, their every paw step watched by the whole pride. It wasn't long before everyone saw that Mufasa was struggling. Hunger, exhaustion, and a brutal course were taking their toll. As they ran side by side, Taka leaned in and whispered, "I've always wanted a brother. I've got a secret, Mufasa. I always wanted a brother." Mufasa stared in surprise, but before he could reply, Taka did something no one expected. He slowed his pace, letting Mufasa pull ahead. In that moment, Taka sacrificed his own victory for the bond he'd always dreamed of. Obasi's roar thundered through the gathering as he bellowed, "Letting a stranger beat you? What kind of future king are you?" With anger and disappointment, he kept his word. Mufasa could stay, but he'd live with the lionesses and never get near Taka. Still, the two young cubs didn't care about Obasi's fury. United by their shared secret, they began singing together and declared that from that day on, they were brothers. Time passed, and though the cubs grew into spirited young lions, their mischievous antics never faded. Obasi's constant complaints echoed through the pride. "Remember, my only son is Taka. That vagabond has no right to be here. Send him back to the lionesses," he'd snarl. When Taka tried to join Mufasa, Obasi stopped him cold. "You can't go with him," he warned gravely. "You must stay by my side and learn what it means to be a leader. And don't trust him. One day he'll betray you, because that's just what outsiders do." Taka looked on in disbelief, feeling deep down that something was very wrong with this lesson. Meanwhile, away from the squabbles, Mufasa was learning under the gentle tutelage of A.E., a wise lioness who taught him advanced hunting tricks. Day by day, he honed an extraordinary sense of smell. On one hunt, he lifted his head and declared, "There's a herd of antelope to the south." Curious, A.E. asked how he could be so sure. With quiet precision, Mufasa replied, "Their footsteps are light, their pace slow, and sometimes I catch a faint scent that reminds me of home." A.E.'s eyes softened as she explained, "That's the scent of your mother. If you can still smell her, she's still with you." Her words sparked hope in Mufasa, a glimmer of belonging even when the world made him feel like an outsider. In a quiet moment, he admitted his deepest fear. "Obasi will never accept me because I'm not his blood. I'll always be an intruder, a wanderer." But A.E. reassured him, saying, "You're my family. It doesn't matter where you come from. With me, you'll always have a home." And with a new budding wisdom, Mufasa sighed, "Maybe being a wanderer is better. At least I won't have to shoulder Taka's burden or the destiny of becoming Lion King." Just then, the ever-mischievous duo Timon and Pumbaa burst in with excited chatter, exclaiming, "Mufasa was just like us, a true wanderer." But Kiara, fed up with their disrespect, shushed them with a sharp gesture so Rafiki could continue his tale. Unbeknownst to everyone, someone was watching from the shadows as Rafiki's mysterious tone took on a new urgency. He warned that while he had been spying on his own kin, something terrible was creeping closer. Massive white lions, like ghostly specters from the desert, had begun to emerge from their hiding places. In an instant, the calm shattered. Mufasa leapt into action to protect A.E. as the white lions attacked without hesitation. The fight was fierce, and from a safe distance, Taka watched in horror. Though he longed to help, fear held him frozen, and instead of joining the battle, he ran away, leaving his family to fend for themselves. With unexpected courage, Mufasa defeated one of the white lions and saved A.E.'s life. Exhausted but triumphant, they returned to the pride, where A.E.'s trembling voice recounted the ordeal. They were massive, white as ghosts. If Mufasa hadn't been there, I wouldn't be alive today. While murmurs of concern spread among the pride, Mufasa warned them firmly, "These lions are only half a day's journey from here. They'll come for us, so we must prepare." Obasi, ever the skeptic, dismissed the warning, demanding, "Why should I believe a vagabond?" and ordered a scout to check the story. Later, in private, he confronted Taka with harsh anger, accusing him, "You abandoned your mother. How do you think that looks for our family?" Far away, in another dark corner of the land, the ruthless White Lion King Kos heard the news. One of his warriors reported, "There was a young lion who wasn't our king, but he killed your son." Kos's voice turned icy with fury and grief as he demanded, "How could an ordinary lion kill my son?" Without mercy, he ordered that the failing warrior be left for the lionesses to devour. Back at the Pride, Obasi continued drilling his rigid views into Taka. "You must lie," he commanded. "Say you didn't run. Say you didn't abandon your mother. Honesty doesn't matter. Only our bloodline does." Torn and visibly conflicted, Taka mumbled, "I don't want to be king. I don't want to lie. I'm just your son." Then a scout returned, breathless and grave, reporting that for every one lion, 2 were coming. Faced with the threat and desperate to protect his lineage, Obasi made a fateful choice. He sent Taka away to start a new life and ordered Mufasa to accompany him as his protector, sealing their bond with a promise of eternal loyalty. At first, Mufasa refused, unwilling to leave Ai, but gentle Ai, with unwavering love in her eyes, spoke of a far-off land, a place beyond the horizon called Mele, where green fields stretched under a perfect sun. "You must go there and find your true home," she urged softly. With heavy hearts and tearful goodbyes, Mufasa and Taka set off on a long journey, leaving Ai behind as the horizon promised an uncertain future. Back in the Pride, Timon and Pumbaa's ridiculous jokes about the whole saga were met with an irritated shake of the head from Kiara, who motioned for Rafiki to continue. Meanwhile, Obasi, clinging tightly to his pride, prepared to confront King Kos, the cold and imposing leader of the White Lions. Rafiki's deep, enigmatic voice echoed, "Kos has made his purpose clear. I am the only king. My pride is the last of the Valley of Kings, and there can be only one supreme lion." Caught between duty and destiny, Obasi knew there was no escape. The circle was broken, and soon there would be only one Lion King. As Taka and Mufasa trekked onward, dark shadows loomed behind them. Mufasa barked out an order with the authority of a true prince, but Taka, haunted by the trauma of a long-ago flood that had torn his family apart, hesitated. Then Kos appeared. His cruel eyes locked on them as he demanded, "Who killed my son?" With a chilling tone of blood for blood, Kos pointed squarely at Taka. The brothers had no choice but to flee, their path leading them to a cliff with no escape. In a moment of desperation and fear, Taka mumbled an apology before pushing Mufasa toward the water, forcing him to jump, a move that both shocked and pained them. But the danger wasn't over. A white lioness charged after them, only to be swallowed by the jaws of a lurking crocodile that burst from the depths. The river's current swept the pair away for a moment, saving them from immediate peril, but leaving them drained and vulnerable. Meanwhile, Kos vowed in icy determination, "Wherever they go, we will hunt them down." During their escape, the brothers encountered a solemn lioness named Sarabi, who revealed in a quiet voice, "I've been searching for survivors from my pride. Most were lost, and I've found only you 2. As they tried to speak with her, a jittery hornbill named Zazu fluttered in, exclaiming, "Please don't eat me," before calming down to explain that Sarabi was a princess sent by her father to protect her on this very journey. This unexpected twist gave the brothers a new ally in their quest for Mele, a place that some still believed to be nothing more than a myth. Sarabi wasn't sure about chasing legends. She needed food, not hope. But the brothers' faith in finding paradise remained unshaken. And deep in a quiet forest, we met a young Rafiki, a peculiar baboon with gifts that set him apart. Born with visions, the power to talk to insects and even the moon, and a knack for healing, he was an outcast among his own kind. Despite a pleading monkey friend urging him to stay, Rafiki calmly chose his own path. Rafiki knew it was time to leave. His family was waiting beyond the trees. Fate led him to cross paths with a group of lions on their journey. When Taka and Mufasa saw him, they thought he might be food and tried to scare him. Their plan quickly failed as Rafiki walked by with a calm, steady confidence, completely unbothered by any danger. Curious, the lions asked, "Why aren't you scared?" "There's nowhere to run." In his mysterious tone, Rafiki replied, "I walk toward the light. If you kill me, you'll never reach Mele. My brother is waiting for me." Startled by his words and the mention of Mele, the lions tried to bargain, saying, "Guide us to Mele and we won't hurt you." But Rafiki refused. I make no deals. My path is mine and yours is yours, he said. Taka wanted to argue, but Mufasa cut in with a bitter tone. Another wandering misfit? We can't eat Taka. The story then jumped back to the present, where Teen and Pumbaa burst into laughter. Rafiki, with a mix of indignation and calm, hijacked Mufasa's story to tell his own, saying, "There is no story of Mufasa without the story of Rafiki." Kiara, deeply moved by the tale, looked up at the sky and whispered, "Mom, Dad, please hear me and come back for me." In a flashback, Rafiki shared his wisdom with Mufasa, who admitted his fears, not just of water, but of the dreams where he felt his parents' presence. Rafiki gently reassured him, "You will always feel your parents. If you hear your mother's voice, it's because she's guiding you." That night, Rafiki even caught a fish, but, after examining it, murmured, "It's not its time," and released it back into the water. At dawn, the group continued their journey. Relying on his keen sense of smell, Mufasa promised they'd soon find food. Although they were skeptical at first, it wasn't long before the scent of a nearby herd spurred them on. They pressed forward, singing and keeping alive the hope of reaching the mythical land of Mele, a new home. As they crossed a valley, Rafiki warned them that their footprints were being followed by watchful eyes. Sure enough, the lionesses reported to their leader that they were no longer alone. They had joined up with a lioness and a baboon. In that moment, Taka sought Mufasa's help to win over a lioness named Sarabi. Mufasa advised him to approach her calmly and ask about her homeland, even mentioning a kind of flower known as duck flowers. Feeling confident, Taka stepped up and blurted out, "You smell like a duck!" Against all odds, the conversation began to flow, but just then, white lions appeared from across the valley, watching them with a predator's intensity. Taka, filled with misplaced confidence, wasn't alarmed until he realized the enemy could easily jump to their side. Facing imminent danger, Mufasa tried to convince some nearby elephants to help fight, but Sarabi came up with a clever plan of her own. Climbing into a tree, she began pushing beehives toward the elephants, causing the bees to swarm and agitate the massive animals. "I never signed up for this," someone might have thought as the elephants' chaos drove off the white lions. Though safe for now, the group knew the threat wasn't over. Observing everything, Rafiki remarked, "Every small creature plays its part in the circle of life." As Sarabi's plan unfolded, she lost her balance and tumbled from the tree. Without a second thought, Mufasa sprinted to save her, while Taka once again froze in fear, hiding in the shadows. When calm returned, Rafiki put his healing skills to work on Sarabi's injuries. After much effort, she stirred and awoke, confused. In his usual quirky style, Rafiki declared, "Your life has been saved." Sarabi, puzzled, asked, "By whom?" Before Rafiki could answer, Mufasa spoke up, "It was Taka who saved you." Taka, surprised by his brother's kind lie, accepted it in silence and later quietly thanked Mufasa for his gesture. That night, as they all rested, Mufasa dreamt of his mother, the warmth of her presence and her comforting words connecting him to the home he had lost. Sarabi also appeared in his dreams, her image stirring a bond he couldn't ignore. When morning came, Mufasa devised a plan. If they were to reach Mele safely, they had to shake off the white lions. Zazu volunteered to fly in circles to confirm that their pursuers had lost their trail, and for the first time, the threat seemed to vanish. Zazu returned with the good news, and the group finally found a moment to rest. Later that evening, Sarabi quietly approached Mufasa. Looking him straight in the eyes, she whispered, "I know it was you who saved me, not Taka. You're a great lion, and one day you must be king." Mufasa tried to brush off her praise at first, but eventually he smiled and even sang a little song celebrating her courage and kindness. Unbeknownst to them, hidden in the shadows, Taka listened with his heart burning with jealousy and rage. Alone, he sang of his frustration and pain, confessing, "I can't forget what I saw. I have no brother anymore. I'm alone." In his anguish, Taka stumbled and rolled until he found himself face to face with King Kiros. Driven by resentment, Kiros told him, "It was Mufasa who killed my son. He took my father from me, and now I'll lead you to him. I'll even guide you to Mele." With those dark words, Taka sealed a grim pact with the white lions. The next day, Taka rejoined the group, acting as if nothing had happened. He thanked Mufasa for everything while secretly leaving marks on the ground to lead the white lions right to them. After a long and grueling journey, they finally arrived at Mele, a true paradise filled with abundant water, lush green plants, and vibrant wildlife. Overjoyed, Rafiki found a tree he had often seen in his visions. With shining eyes, he turned to Mufasa and said, "In my visions, I always saw a brother standing here. That brother is you. You are my brother." As the group celebrated, danger loomed. Kiros and his pride arrived, and the White Lion King revealed the painful truth. It was Taka who had led them here. Mufasa, stunned, couldn't believe it, but Taka confirmed it, saying, "It's true, because Sarabi chose you just like our mother and even our father." Consumed by rage, heroes sought vengeance for the loss of a son. Mufasa roared, calling everyone's attention. "I may be a wanderer, but I must fight for Mele. We all have a place in the circle of life, and together we can protect it." Inspired by his words, the other animals united with Mufasa to face the threat in an epic battle inside a dark cave. Inside that cave, Mufasa fought Kiros while Taka watched from above. The White Lion King proved to be a fierce opponent, and after an intense struggle, he defeated Mufasa. Just as Kiros prepared to deliver the final blow, Taka heard his mother's voice in his mind, reminding him that his moment to be a hero would come. Moved by those words, Taka intervened and saved his brother. Meanwhile, Rafiki used his wisdom to shift the terrain, guiding the other lions to safety. During the fierce battle, a sudden flood swept through the cave. Despite the rising water, Kiros relentlessly pursued Mufasa, and their fight continued underwater. As the flood surged, a massive rock broke loose. Seizing the moment, Mufasa struck Kiros, and the falling rock crushed the White Lion King, ending his reign. Slowly, the waters receded, and the sun broke through the cave's entrance, shining on a standing, victorious, yet humbled Mufasa. Rafiki then approached him and proclaimed, "The circle of life continues, and today you've taken your place in it." After the battle, a wounded and exhausted Mufasa struggled to leave the cave. Though Taka hesitated for a moment, he ultimately helped him. But when Sarabi arrived to assist, Taka, feeling overshadowed and indignant, left without a word. Outside, Sarabi and Mufasa found the rest of the animals waiting for them, united in their time of need. Mufasa was proclaimed the Lion King of Mele. Then, in a shocking moment, Mufasa's mother appeared, alive and overjoyed. The reunion was heartfelt, though she brought heartbreaking news. His father had passed away. Later, Taka returned filled with regret and begged for forgiveness. Even though the other animals called for his exile, Mufasa refused to let his brother be left without a home. But he made his stance clear. "From now on, I will never speak your name. You will be called Scar." Scar, his heart burning with silent rage, turned and walked away. His eyes filled with hatred as he watched Mufasa ascend Pride Rock and let out a powerful roar, the beginning of his own dark reign. In the midst of everything, Kiara stood in the rain, roaring with all her might to honor her lineage and legacy. Soon after, she spotted her father in the distance, and, overcome with joy, ran to him for a heartfelt embrace. Meanwhile, Teen and Pumbaa congratulated Rafiki on his storytelling, and Simba and Kiara returned together. But they weren't alone. They brought with them a new addition to the family, Kiara's younger brother, a young lion full of excitement and promise to protect him always, ensuring the circle of life would go on. And so, the tale ended with a renewed celebration of family, legacy, and the enduring bond of the Pride Lands.